Please be ready for dictation of exercise number 24 from Progressive Magazine of April 2023. It is a legal passage. 5 seconds to go. Start. Feeling aggrieved and dissatisfied with the impugned final judgment and order passed by the High Court of Judicature at Madras in criminal appeal, by which the High Court has dismissed the said appeal preferred by the appellant herein original accused number 1 and has confirmed the conviction and sentence imposed by the learned trial court for the offences punishable under section 302 read with section 201 of the IPC. The original accused number 1 has preferred the present appeal. The prosecution case is elaborately stated by the High Court in the impugned judgment in paragraph 2. As per the case of the prosecution, the deceased was employed as a driver by PW1 to drive a taxi owned by him. On 26/6/2006 at about 6:30 a.m., the deceased left his house after informing his wife that thereafter he did not return. That A1 was also driving a taxi for some time and in such a way he knew the deceased. It was alleged that all the accused persons hatched a conspiracy to engage the car driven by the deceased and after taking him to a far off isolated place, kill him and then to steal the car and other personal belongings owned by the deceased. As per the prosecution case, in pursuance of the said conspiracy, then A1 spoke to the deceased and fixed him for going to Meru in the taxi driven by the deceased. Accordingly, the deceased came in the taxi to Theru bus stop. Then all the 5 accused got into the taxi. The taxi proceeded towards Meru. When it was nearing the village known as Amma, at an isolated place, the deceased wanted the deceased to stop the car for a while. The deceased stopped the car. As soon as the car came to a halt, suddenly A2 came to strangulate the deceased by neck. A3 and A4 tied the hands of the deceased and A5 tied the legs of the deceased with ropes. Then they put the deceased in between the front and back seat of the car. A3 to A5 sat on the back seat of the car and ensured that the deceased was not crying. The car was driven by A1. The deceased died. All the 5 accused put the dead body of the deceased into the pit and buried the same. After the search, the deceased was not found and therefore PW1 made a complaint to the police. PW11, the then sub-inspector of police, registered a case as under section 406 of IPC. That thereafter an FIR was assigned to the jurisdictional court. That after PW11 started investigation, he recorded the statement of the relevant witnesses. However, thereafter PW11 closed the case on 4/2/2007 as undetected. The learned magistrate accepted the closure report. However, thereafter, on the basis of a letter alleged to have been written by A1 addressed to PW22, which was received by him on 29/12/2007, by which A1 had alleged to have confessed that he, along with other accused, engaged the taxi in question, took the driver, killed him, and buried the dead body and took away the taxi. According to the confessional statement recorded in the said letter, some parts of the car were taken by A2 to A5. PW22 went to the police station along with the said letter and handed over the letter to PW30. On the basis of the same, the investigation began. On the basis of the statement of A1, the place where the car was hidden and the dead body was buried came to be recovered. Thus, the dead body was recovered at the instance of A1. PW30 altered the case into one under section 302 and 396 of IPC. PW30 arrested A1. During the investigation on disclosure statement of A1, PW30 recovered the car without engine and the gearbox from PW16 as identified by A1. On the disclosure statement of A1, the car engine and the gearbox were also recovered. As observed herein above, the dead body was exhumed from the place identified by A1. Post-mortem of the deceased was conducted. Several injuries were found. On completion of the investigation, PW30 filed the charge sheet against all the accused. The case was committed to the Sessions Court. The accused pleaded not guilty, and therefore all of them came to be tried for the offence under section 302 and other offence of IPC. The prosecution examined a number of witnesses. PW16 can be said to be the star witness from whom the car driven by the deceased was seized by the police as such. Stop.